Today I'm going to talk about the GL-AR750 router, that's your little travel router. They call it the Slate router. And what I'm running right now is I'm running this little router right here, the Mini Smart router. It's 150 megabits, one 2.0 USB port, one switch button, two Ethernet ports. And what I have an issue with is it seems like in the car, whenever we have multiple tablets and stuff running, then it's unable to keep up with that for some reason. It just keels over. I get complaints from the passengers, hey, things stop working. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with the new GL-AR750 router, which is a 750 megabit router, and see if that has an improvement over what I'm currently using. So let's get started. Okay, so I'm going to plug this into, what I have is this little, this is a RAV power battery. And for testing purposes, I'm going to plug this in. Make sure it has some juice. It's got juice. I'm going to plug this into the router and just power it from this while I'm setting it up in the house before I put it in the vehicle. So let's just go ahead and plug it in, give it some power. Let's check the lights on the front. So we do have a power light. Now it says on the quick start guide to put the card in here, the SIM card, but I'm not going to put a SIM card. I'm going to use that USB device, which will go right here when I'm ready to do that. But first things first, we're going to go ahead and set this up so that we can do something with it here in the house. And for that, I need to set up the network. So I'm going to go ahead and set up my Wi-Fi network. And now it's supposed to create a network itself called GL-AR something or other. So let's go find that under Wi-Fi settings. Turn the Wi-Fi settings on, show available networks. And let's see if it finds it. You can see here that it shows that it should be either GL-AR750S or GL-AR750S something 5G. So it's got a choice of 5G or regular. And so far it's not finding anything. So let's just go over here and check again. See what kind of, I'm going to turn the Wi-Fi networks off, turn them back on, show available networks, and now I have it. It's in 963. I'm going to tell it to connect, and the network key initially is called, it's Good Life. So it's connected with no internet, which is fine. We don't want any internet on this anyway at the moment. We just want to get it configured up. So now I should be able to go into the IP address, 192.168.8.1. And that's the IP address of this router, supposedly. Let me make sure I'm still on the network. Oh, I typed it wrong, 168. And it starts off by asking you for your language. So English is good for me. Next. You're going to set up your admin password. It'll be for configuring the admin panel on your router. Keep it safe. So I will put that in and move to the next screen. So it gives you a bunch of status options. The WLAN clients is what I've got set up now, and that's the PC that's plugged or connected to it via wireless. Now I could have easily plugged my PC in, I believe, to the network port and configured it as well. Also, I have nothing showing over here, so I have nothing on the internet side. So I'm just going to go through some of the options here first. Wireless, we have our current Wi-Fi, SSID, security, Wi-Fi key, and that's something I'll change. So I want to have this set up to my current truck stuff. So everything that's currently using the truck will use the same thing. I'm just going to do a 1-for-1 swap and see what happens. And for the key, I'm going to put in the key. SSID visibility is shown for now. As a matter of fact, I'm going to hide that because I don't want someone driving alongside my vehicle to try to connect to my Wi-Fi. There's no reason for anyone else to do that. So I've hidden that one. Also, if you drive down the road, like my Unify, for example, every access point that has any smarts is going to identify your vehicle as it drives down the road. So I'm just going to hide that. Wi-Fi mode is going to be 802.11bgn, which is fine. You can force it 5G, force it to 4.4 gig. I'll leave the bandwidth as default. And I'll leave the channel as default. And my transmit power, I'm gonna bring it down. It doesn't have to be max because it's inside that confined space in the vehicle. So I don't really need to do much with it. So I'm gonna go all the way down to medium for now. and see if there's anything, or if I have any issues with that. So I'm going to apply that. You can get a listing of your clients here. Oh, let me back up here. So you have your 2.4 gig. So I actually, it's interesting that it doesn't do the same SSID for both of these, or I wonder if it can. So we're going to try this. We're going to try running this on the same SSID for both 5 gig and 2.4. Let's see what it does here. Again, SSID, I'm going to hide that. Wi-Fi mode is ANAC, so all your different 5G modes. This up here is all your 2.4 gig modes. And then channel 36 is what it picked right now. Transmit power, again, I'm going to put this down to medium because I don't need it high. And it takes the same SSID for both, apparently. So then I have the ability to turn on or off 5G and 2.4. You can set up a guest network on here as well. For the purposes of using this in the vehicle, I don't need a guest network, so I'm going to leave it just the way it is. We're going to have primary networks for both. For clients, nothing to do there, nothing to click on. There is an upgrade option. None of this stuff can work, I suppose, until I actually hook up the internet. So I don't have any options for that right now. And then applications, you can do all kinds of plugins, file sharing, remote access, and captive portal. And then there's more settings. You can set your admin password, which I already changed on here, your LAN IP. And I don't know what's going on here, but none of this stuff is actually working. I've got the SSID set for 2.4 gig and for 5 gig. What I want to do next is I'm going to disconnect this network that I'm connected to, the GL iNet network that this provides. And I'm going to connect directly to this using the user or the SSID and password that I just configured. So let me go over to my wireless settings on my computer, and I'm going to first reboot this so it will do its thing. And then I'm going to go look for the new network that it created. And we'll give that a second here to reboot, see if we can connect to it on the new network. And you can see here that we have our 2G and our 5G wireless both up and running, and power to the router. And this again is running off the battery. Okay, so after rebooting this router and coming back here, apparently you cannot set the Wi-Fi name, the 5G and the 2.4G the same. So I'm going to leave this for the default items in the vehicle, and I'm going to set this as a different SSID for 5G so that it will work. So let me do that. We'll just call it that, and we'll use the SSID. Visibility, I'm going to hide it, and then I'm going to apply this. Now, because I've hidden the SSID, when I go to connect to this on my computer, it won't see it. I'm going to actually have to specify it. So I'm going to try to connect to it now. I'm going to specify cookie truck 5G. And for the password, I know you can't see this. It's off to I can't bring that window over to here to show you that. And then I'll specify the password. Now it's connecting to this. Hopefully it will give me an IP address and do everything. And we can see what we're doing with that by running ipconfig and seeing what kind of IP address we got. My Wi-Fi did give me an IP address here and an IP here. So let's just see what we're connected to Wi-Fi wise. All right, so we are connected to the 5G port on the router. And if we look at the router itself, you can see here that there's activity on the 5G radio. And so that means that it's connecting and trying to do stuff. What I need to do now is I need to plug in the little USB connector on here so that I can get internet through my Verizon connection. So I'm going to do that next and see what we get when we connect that in. Okay, so now we have our Verizon USB dongle here that will plug in here to this router. And let's see if it just is plug and play. We should see some lights come on, I hope, on this router or on this Verizon thing. If not, we may have to do some configuration. But here we go. So we've got a status light on the back, and typically that status light will become solid or go solid when it's ready to do some internet work. And then you also see here that you have the data used light that'll start flickering. So let's just watch that a minute and see if it does something. While we're doing that, I will come back over to the browser and I'll look at the internet or the status page. And if it works right, you should see this light up. And now we have this device here and I want to connect it. And it's going to connect to ETH1. It kind of makes that connection automatically for you, so you don't have to do anything there. And it should connect up. Still watching the status light over here. All right, so we have a solid status and we have a solid data used light. If we go back over to the browser, you now see the tethering light here. So if I go to a new browser tab, if we're lucky, we will get some sort of web page. Wow, that's fast. So let me just make sure. I'm going to unplug my network connection that's this PC is connected to in the house and make sure it's only working on the Wi-Fi. So give me a second to do that. All right, so I've unplugged that connection. Now we should be able to run ipconfig here and look and see that we don't have anything but our wireless connection. So this is our VirtualBox, which is fine. And we have our Wi-Fi connection here. So this is from the router, directly to the router over Wi-Fi. So let me go back and reload this page and make sure it's working. And it's very fast. And if I go to, let's just say Speedtest or something, we'll just try our standard speed test. Why not? We'll run this one just to see what it is. Now this is Verizon LTE, and I don't know what kind of signal I have where it's sitting right now. And let's see what we get for our upload speed. So we're getting 7.5 down, 6 up on our LTE connection. Now I'm going to go to the other speed test server that I'm used to using here and see what kind of speed test we get from that. I never use, if I'm really trying to figure something out, I never use just one single speed test server. I try multiple servers just to make sure. And then what I'll do is I'll move it a little bit closer to the window and see if it makes any difference at all. You can see here that there's some light activity going on. This is typically under the seat, so I won't even care about it when it's running, as long as it works the way it's supposed to. And so we're getting about 14 meg down and 10 meg up with a 29 millisecond ping. You know, in a vehicle driving down the road, that's perfectly fine. Let me move it so we can see where it is now. It's sitting on the desk to my right, just to the right of the keyboard and mouse. And this is tilted down. Now, not that it makes a huge amount of difference, but I'm going to move this closer to the window and then we'll see if we get anything better. So let me just grab it and set it over here. Okay, so now it's closer to the window. I'm going to run this same speed test again. Keep in mind, this is providing internet to the vehicle, and I don't need massive amounts of internet. I just need reliable, steady internet. There's about 15, 12-ish. So I don't expect to get hundreds of meg of bandwidth out of this, but it is decent. Now, what I'm doing is running this over Verizon Wi-Fi or cellular network. So if I were to test this router throughput just by itself, then I would have to connect it to something here locally in the house and see if I can get a better speed that way. I can plug in this WAN cable and then see how much speed I get from up there using a local speed test I have within the house here. So let me do that next. So the point, at this point, we have good wireless internet from our Verizon client, and the setup was super easy to do. Now you can see that I have these things, these other settings available to me now that the internet is hooked up. It's interesting to note that I didn't have these options until I had internet access, which to me is kind of a little bit cheesy, but you know what, it is what it is. This is a standard router. You can do all the router things you can do on a typical router. And of course, this router comes with a ton of VPN settings out of the box, including an internet kill switch. So you can add new VPN configurations. I can set this up to run through my WireGuard server, I believe. Yeah, so I could do WireGuard manually, and then I can take, if you watch my WireGuard video, I can take the WireGuard settings and apply WireGuard to this. That means that everything would run through my VPN at my house. Applications, there's a bunch of stuff you can do here. I'm not going to go into all the applications, but there are just tons of things you can add here. You can do file sharing, remote access. So you can do these routers. You can manage these with GoodCloud. And you can do captive portal stuff. And of course, the more settings, admin passwords, the LAN IP address. You can set this specifically. You can do static IP address binding, so you can give specific devices in your network their own IP address. Set the time zone. I'm going to go ahead and set this because it is wrong, which is Central Time US. Apply it. And now it's happy with that. You can do MAC cloning for ISP stuff. You can set a custom DNS server. I can, in fact, do DNS over TLS using Cloudflare or NextDNS. In fact, I'm going to enable that one for Cloudflare so that we have some TLS stuff. So it's whenever I look at stuff over the Verizon network, it's encrypted DNS-wise. You can set the buttons to do things. You can WireGuard toggle on or off, OpenVPN toggle on or off, Tor toggle on or off with these buttons that are on the side of the router. And let me show you that. So on the router itself, we have these buttons here, this toggle switch. You can set that, and you can set that based on these switches right here. Or I'm sorry, these switches right here. Then you can set that mode switch to do stuff based on whether you want or whatever you select in this box up here. And then network mode, you can set the network mode as a router, an access point, an extender, or WDS. And of course, there is advanced. And for advanced, it gets you into all of the advanced, obviously, settings that you can set in an OpenWRT router, which is what it's running, by the way. Okay, so now you can see that I have this connected from the WAN port on the router through the router to my computer here, my client, over the wireless. And what that allows me to do is go into a local Speedtest server that I have running on another PC across the house and give me a true indication of speed without worrying about internet interference or anything. So let's start and see what kind of speed we get with this router. Now we are connected to the 5G radio. So we could try to connect to the 2G radio and see if we get any difference in speed. So this is 220 megabits download speed on 5G and about 118 up. Now, to be fair, I am running my Unify network in the house right now, and I don't know what channel it's currently on, but it's quite possible that it is causing interference. And if I do a channel, let's see, what is it called? A channel optimization, I think here. Let's see if it changes this channel at all and see if it makes it look any better to it based on where I have it sitting on the house now. It doesn't seem like it changed anything. Channel 11 on 2.4 and channel 36 here. I could change the channel manually to, let's just go auto. All right, so now we're on channel 161. Let's see what that does for us. We'll start the speed test again. Looking pretty similar to what it was before. There's a jump. So we're getting a little bit faster speed by changing the channel. We're at 300 meg now. And I suppose for wireless, that's pretty good in general, 260 up. There is a theoretical limit to Wi-Fi anyway, but I'm completely happy at 300 meg. That's plenty of speed. That's more speed than I'll get from my USB dongle anyway. I'm going to connect to the 2.4 gigahertz radio and see if that changes any speed at all for us. Okay, so I am now connected to the 2.4 gigahertz radio. And I'm going to start the test again. And let's see what we get. Oh, and that's pretty rough. Again, the channel is not set to auto on 2.4. So let's set the channel to auto and let it find the best channel. Because I'm, again, running my Unify network here, and it potentially is causing interference, and that would be a problem. And let's see what channel it shows for the 2.4 gigahertz this time. Now, it doesn't tell me what channel it's on, but let's just see if it makes any difference by doing what we did. And now I will run the speed test again. And this would be probably okay, but I'm not pleased with the speed I'm getting from the 2.4 gig side of this router. Let's put this at high, apply it, and then I'll reconnect to the network. All right, it's connected and secured. Let's see what kind of speed we're going to get out of this now. Again, auto and transmitter power high, and one more speed test on 2.4. Huh. Well, that is telling for sure. Definitely a difference. I wouldn't think, and the router is literally, it's down here on the floor, and the PC is 1.5 feet away. I would never imagine I need to set the power higher on the router to get a better speed when it's that close. Nothing's going to be that close to it in the car necessarily. You're going to have people sitting in there. So it's very interesting that that's the case. That is the configuration. It's super simple for using this. You have Verizon plug here. And then you can also use it for a router in your house if you have a backup, a need for a backup or whatever. Or take it to your favorite hotel, plug it into the Ethernet port on the table, and provide internet service with a VPN connection, which this will do, between your devices in your hotel and the internet. That's what makes it really great, is you can use the VPN portion of this and plug this in directly like I have it here, where you have it plugged into either the tethering or repeater, say from a phone, or the cable connection in your hotel to give you VPN access from your devices into the internet. And that keeps the snoopers in the hotel network from messing with your stuff. And thank you for watching the video. I hope it was helpful to you again. It's not a home assistant video this time, but it is technology that I use on a daily basis. So Discord or comments, and if you like the video, hit that thumbs up. And if you're not a subscriber, do that as well, and we'll see you again.